Hello there, and thank you so much for joining me for another tutorial. I'm Erin Eno, and today we're going to be painting these simple loose watercolor flowers using only an angle shader. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more tutorials like this one, please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Now grab your paints and let's get started. Today I'll be painting in my grabby watercolor pad. It's 100% cotton, 140 pound. I do have an affiliate link for this, and I will put it in my description box so you can get 15% off if you use my code. It is a pretty decent paper, and I just wanted to kind of use it a little more just so I could get the hang of it, and so you can have an idea of what it's like, because it's a quite reasonably priced paper if you're just starting out. As always, I have my Royal Talens Van Gogh paints in my palette, jar of water and a paper towel, and the star brush for the day is my 1/2 inch Princeton Snap Angle Shader. That's the only brush we're using, as I mentioned. And this video may be, actually it most likely will be part 1 of using the angle shader, because when I was playing around with this yesterday, I came up with another version or another way to use it to do flowers that I quite liked and I thought you might enjoy. So let's just kind of treat this as part 1. So a little while ago I did a video on how to do flowers using only a flat shader, and I thought it would be nice to kind of have a go at the same thing with an angle shader. So if you're kind of new to watercolor and you've got a your arsenal of round brushes and you want to know what other brushes you might want to get to try out, this will give you a good idea. First of all, I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap paper just to give you an idea of what this brush can do. My flowers are going to be blue. I've just got to wet my palette, I forgot. But I'm spraying my whole palette, but I know my flowers are just going to be blue, but it's just a habit. So I'm going to take some Prussian blue, which is quite vibrant, and I'm just going to tone that down a little bit with some ultramarine deep, and I'm going to water it down a bit too. But I just want to show you initially, I'm just going to push this paint off to the side. I'll push the bulk of it off to the side and kind of keep a wash of it towards this side, but I just wanted to show you what this brush can do. This is a synthetic brush, so it doesn't hold a ton of water, but we're going to use that to our advantage. But I just want to show you what the strokes can do. You can get some nice broad strokes with this brush. Okay, this is only a 1/2 inch, and you can get some really fine lines as well. If you just see how sharp that edge is, so you just put your brush down and just slowly drag it up, and you can get some really fine points, or really fine lines rather. So back to the points, yes, you can get very fine points on this too by just using the tip, just like that. Okay, so you can get quite fine details by just using the tip. So it's a pretty versatile brush. You can also get rounded edges with it. If you just lay that tip down and just do that and just bring it up. See, so it is a very versatile brush. You can always just do little strokes like that. So I suggest maybe looking into getting one, but you'll be the judge of that after we get through this tutorial. So to start, we're just going to kind of let the brush control what's going on. And what I like about this brush is that because it doesn't hold a lot of water, you can just get your strokes down and then go back and layer more quickly than if you've kind of flooded it with a lot of water. So we're just going to do a bit of a wash. I don't want them too dark to start. And we're just going to kind of use the brush with its kind of straight edges, kind of not straight, kind of like spiky. Yeah, you get these kind of spiky petals like that. But you can curve it and you can turn your brush and come up like that and have petals that look like they're kind of pointing down. Okay, and the beauty of this brush, like I say, is it's not flooded with water. So you can go back in and just put the very tip of your brush in your paint, and you can always take that, just use the very tip, and just go in and add some details. And it's not getting flooded with color, so it doesn't like get away on you, but it just adds nice little textures, and they make really fun little flowers. Okay, so I'm dipping it in this kind of medium wash, taking some of it off on the edge of my jar, and we'll do another one over here. So I'm just trying to maintain these kind of spiky petals. They don't all have to be spiky, it's just I just find them kind of interesting and fun, almost like a little wildflower. When I get to the bottom, you can just turn your brush, kind of get that same effect. They make really fun little flowers. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. So here I am just dipping into the tip again, just to add a little variation in color, like so. And then now maybe we'll let's try a little bud semi-open, and we'll just do the same thing, these spiky kind of edges. Okay, but even though it's spiky, I'm going to take the tip of my brush and just round out the bottom. That's what I mean by, you can just let the brush kind of control the strokes, but you can always fine tune it with that tip of this angle shader. And the beauty of this brush, because it's quite stiff, you can also go in and pick up pigment quite easily. Okay, so you can lift pigment up and just go in, tap in a little more color. You can see sometimes it does split when you go in and you do that lifting. If that happens, just go in and re-wet your brush and just tap it flat on your paper towel. Okay, so I've got pigment on the tip of my brush again, and just tapping that in. Just like that. Now let's see if we can get one that's kind of a little tilted on its side. Not fully, but just a little bit. Okay, so we'll start with these same kind of petals. You can also put your brush down and kind of wiggle it like that. Okay, so I'm not really lifting my brush. I'm keeping this back part on the paper and just wiggling that end, the pointy end. So you get these really spiky kind of leaves or petals. And if you don't want them that spiky, just go in and kind of soften up some of those edges. So now I just want to make this kind of look like it's a little tilted on its side. So these front petals are going to be a little flatter and a little foreshortened. Okay. So I'm just going to hold my brush with the pointy side to the center of the flower. Okay, and I'm holding it at this almost like a 45-degree angle, and I'm just going to do these little flat petals, just like so. And I don't have to turn my brush to put the point to the center to do this petal on the left, because you can kind of just get that same effect by just keeping it kind of parallel. And I don't know if I like the shape of that one, so I'm just going to pick some of that pigment up. I'm going to go back in and just make it like this front petal's just kind of rounded off. I do like this color. And I'm going to go in just with pigment on the very tip again, and just go in and tap in some more color. Now this one I didn't put a lot of paint down, so it's dry and it's not really bleeding there, but that can always be fixed. That never bothers me when that happens, because you can always just go in with a damp brush and just soften whatever edges aren't bleeding enough for you, just like that. So I really like this brush for flowers because they end up having like a lot of texture rather than just, I don't know, I just find that sometimes we get into a rut of just putting a roundish petal down and tapping pigment into it and having it have this soft bleed, and it's nice just to get this kind of texture every once in a while. Actually, I'm really liking this brush for flowers, along with the flat shader as well. So now I want to do a flower that's kind of totally side facing. So I'm just going to take the tip of my brush and just touch it, but I'm not going to put it fully down. I'm going to keep this end part kind of raised off the paper because I just want short little petals here. Okay? Just like that. Because these are going to be the petals in the back, and then there'll be petals covering that are going to be in front of it. Just like so. Go into that tip, just tap some deeper pigment in, just like so. Now we're going to do the petals that are in front of it, so it's kind of side facing. So I'm just going to take a little more pigment on my brush this time, because I don't want it to bleed too much into that that kind of back layer of petals, and I want to leave a little bit of white space in the middle. I forgot to mention that, sorry, I've left white space in the middle on all of these, and you want to make sure you do it here too, just so we can have a little peak of like stamens. And we're just going to do a petal like it's in front of it. So I've got the tip pointing to the left, and I'm just going to quickly, like that, put that petal down and maybe just kind of ruffle that edge a little bit. Okay, and then we'll just do a quick kind of curve for another petal to the right and do the same thing to the left. Like so. So I'm not totally controlling it. I'm letting the brush kind of run the show a little bit. We can afford to kind of bring this one down just a tad. So now what I want to do is just add a little more depth to these guys. So I'm going to take that blue again. I'm going to water it down a little bit. So we can go in with either the same value and do a layer, or we can just go in with a little bit of a stronger value. I don't want to start off too dark right out of the gate, so it's going to be fairly light. And I just want to add a little more depth to some of these petals. Okay, so I'm just using quick, kind of flicky strokes. Just going to try to round this petal out a bit. Make it look like it's kind of hanging open. But don't get carried away, because you can just end up making it too dark, and then it will just kind of go flat and uninteresting on you. So for the little bud, I just want to do a little bit on the side there, maybe a little quick stroke here. And I'm just going to blend that out just a little bit, like so. And again, see my bristles have kind of splayed open, so I'm just going to wet my brush again and just tap it to get those bristles back into their flat shape. And this one's gone kind of flat on me, so I'm not big on that. So I'm just going to pick some of that pigment up there. So what that's doing is it's lightening this petal, so this petal makes it look like this, so it makes it look like this petal's in front. We can actually enhance that a little more by just doing a quick line on that petal so it looks like it's in front. And then you can soften it if you like. I don't want to soften it too much because I like this kind of spiky, quick, textured kind of look. I'm going to mix up some more of my blue. Whoops. I grabbed the wrong blue there. There we go. Water it down a little bit. Just going to take some of it off my brush because that's pretty dark. And you can just go in and start adding a few extra beefy layers just of this darker shade. And I'm basically just tapping it in with the tip of my brush now, because we've already got the shape established. So because we're just adding detail, you want to have a little more control. And that's the beauty of the fine tip on this brush. You get a lot of control because it is so fine. Because it doesn't hold a lot of water, it doesn't flood everything on you. We'll do the same thing here. I'm just going to tap some water or some pigment just to the center because I want that heavier, and then I'm just going to drag it out with the tip of my brush. And I think just afford to go a little bit darker. I don't want these flowers like really too vibrant. I kind of like the softness of that color. I'm going to lift that up a bit too. And I think I will add a few little spiky petals coming out this side. And then for this one, I'm just going to darken up the petal that's kind of covered by these outer petals. So I'm just tipping in to that inside edge there, and you can add a little bit to these back guys. And kind of soften them out. Maybe bring this darkness down a little bit, just like that. So I'm kind of happy with these. The only one I'm having a bit of an issue with is maybe this guy up here. So I'm just going to scrub at that a bit and lift some of that pigment up. And then what I will do is just tap some to that back or top of these petals. I'm not speaking very well today. Just to make it look like they're kind of curved into the flower a bit, so that it's a little deeper towards that inside edge. You can also add a little bit of depth to this guy. So running the risk of overworking it, I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm just going to darken up this one. Just kind of step back and look at it and just see where you want to add a little more depth. Just like that. Maybe add a little more interest to this bud up here too. Okay, so I don't want to go in and do the centers yet because I don't want them to bleed in, but we can start doing the leaves now. And I'm going to put this aside for a second because I just want to show you how you can do your leaves. You can see here we've got pretty much a pretty decent leaf shape. So I'm just going to take some sap green Maybe I'll add in some of this blue just so it's not, you know, plain sap green. So to do a leaf, you can, of course, you can do your stem just with the tip of your brush, or you can just put it on the, whoop, that wasn't very smart. Put it on the paper and just slowly drag your line up like that, using that full edge. If you're not comfortable with that, just use the very tip of it, just till you get the hang of it. And then to do your leaf, you're going to put the pointed edge always towards your stem. You're going to curve it like so, and then you're going to round it, twist it, and bring it up. And then the same thing on the other side. Just like that. So when you do a leaf that's on the left side of the stem, you do the same thing. The tip goes towards the stem. Sorry, the shadow's probably kind of getting in your way here. So your tip is here. You're going to turn it this way and curve it in. And then the same thing. The tip goes here, curve the short end out, and then bring it in. If you want to just let your brush control the shape of the leaf, you can do that too. Just, you know, just do these quick little strokes. They don't have to be perfect leaves. And then you can always finesse it with the very tip of your brush. Okay, so don't worry about trying to control it too much. Okay, so I'm just going stroke, stroke, like that. Or you can go stroke and then turn your brush so the short end is off to the right and bring it back in, just like that. But like I say, if you want to just let your brush totally control the shape of your leaves, by all means, you can always fine tune it with the tip. Okay, so let's get some leaves on these guys. First we'll do the stems. Actually, I'm going to mix up a little more. Okay, I don't want my brush sopping wet. And if you have to turn your paper to get nice straight edges, by all means do so. I'm going to give this a go with the edge, and I'm just dragging my hand all the way up, just like that. Don't try to just flick it, because you'll get uneven pressure. You've got to lay your brush down and move your entire hand, okay? Just like that. And like I say, if you're not comfortable with that, just use the very tip of your brush. Well, I don't like that. I thought this was the easier way and I screw it up. I'm just going to blot this up. I was not happy with that stem. Let's give this another go. I'm just going to turn my paper upside down because I find it easier to do it this way. Okay, and we'll do one to this guy. My lines with the edge of the brush are actually thinner. Those stems could afford to be a little thicker, but that's okay. And I'm going to do a few little sepals on this one and have them encase that bud a little bit, just like that. I don't like how far this line came in. I'm just going to pick a bit of that up. There we go. Okay, let's get to some leaves. Let's try one on this one. So I'm just going to draw the stem of the leaf, and I've got the tip facing the stem, and I'm just going to, just like that. Okay, this is an awkward, kind of an awkward spot, so I'm just going to fix the shape of it just with the tip of my brush, just like so. And if it's got too of a straight kind of edge on it, you can also just fix the curve on there. Let's do another one. Actually, you know what? Let's do one that's coming right off the stem. Just like so. So the tip is facing the stem. Just like that. And you can go in and add a little more paint if you think you want it a little darker. We can do some little ones off this guy. I'm not sure if I like that one. That one didn't turn out very well. Just like that. But you know what? I don't mind it rough like that. That's kind of the case where you're just letting the brush control how your leaves turn out. And that's okay. This is loose. I'm okay with having not perfect leaves on my flowers. So I'm just using the tip, then pushing down and coming up. Even that with one stroke, that still makes a decent leaf. So I think I'm actually going to leave that one just with the one stroke, like so. Another one here. Actually, I like that one too. So if you're not comfortable with just jumping in and putting leaves on your flowers, just do a little, practice sheet. I'm just kind of winging it here. I'm not a pro at this brush by any means, but I just wanted to show you what it can do, because I was quite happy with how the flat brush worked, and I'm kind of happy with this too. Okay, maybe we'll do one that's kind of wavy. You can get all kinds of shapes with this. It's quite a versatile brush, as I said. I think I will probably be using it more. Let's see if we can get one that's kind of curled down. Maybe that's not working so much. So as I'm curving it, I'm going down to the tip of my brush. That looks kind of curled. Yeah, I like that. Let's do another one off of here. I won't do this one too big. I don't want it coming into that flower too much. Maybe draw a line down the center. Deepen this one up here so it looks like it's kind of folded over. Okay, leave the top part light and the underneath darker. That gives it that illusion of having a shadow underneath. And I'm kind of happy with that. You can go in, add some lines or some shading if you like, just like that. But I'm good with that. I don't think I need to play around with that much more. Maybe add a little bit of darkness to this one here. This paint hasn't been on my paper too long, so when I go in with water, I'm running the risk of lifting the color underneath. But that's okay. That'll just kind of add to the texture. So I'm happy with that. I don't think I'm going to play around with these much more than that, other than to go in and do the centers, which we are also going to do with the flat shader, but we're just going to use the very tip. For the centers, I'm going to use sepia because I love the combination of blue and brown. Blue and dark brown, which the sepia, of course, is. And I don't want a ton of it on my brush, so I'm just going to tap the back edge of my brush because I want the paint to stay on the center, or on the tip rather. Okay, so I'm just going into that tip, and I'm just going to just do some dots like so. And always try to remember to leave a little bit of white space in your centers, which I kind of neglected to do on that one, but that's okay. Just gives it a little bit of light and life if you leave a little bit of white space. I think it's probably too dark to lift from here, but we'll see. Yeah. I knew I didn't stand a chance of lifting too much sepia off of this. See if we can kind of cheat and get some white space in there. Now we'll do this guy. And I'm just going to leave it at the sepia. You can add in some yellow if you want. Just for the sake of the video, I didn't want to do yellow, have to wait for it to dry and then go back in with the sepia. But like I say, I love blue and dark brown anyway, so I'm good with this, just being sepia. So I'm going to call this done, and I just want to remind you of all the different shapes you can get from this brush by just using the tip, from applying different pressure strokes to using it flat to get a broad stroke. It's quite a versatile brush, so if you're looking for something beyond your typical round brushes, I highly recommend an angle brush and a flat shader. So that's it for today, but do keep a lookout for another video that I will be doing with this flat shader, because that one's going to be really fun and I think it's really pretty. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you found it helpful. And I want to thank you so much for joining me and supporting my channel as always. Oh, and if you're on Instagram and you do give this a try, don't forget to share your work there and tag me so I can have a look. That's it for today. Take care, and I'll see you next time.